Founders that follow the rules and do everything by the book are quite unlikely to have success. I mean, when you're creating a company, many times you're creating a new market. You're building a market. You're not going after an established market that already exists. Most of the times you're creating new markets, and you're pushing the envelope. You're creating a new market. You're gonna bother incumbents for sure. You might bother regulatory. We saw it in the case of Uber and Airbnb most recently. Now AI, we'll see with OpenAI, people won't become people. Most people don't like change, particularly the system. The incumbents don't like change. Government doesn't love change. So you're gonna have to be, a jerk in a way of like you're gonna have to, break things, go fast and break things most of the times, and fix them along the ways, and that's okay as long as you're a principled person and knows why you do what you do, and you're not going, not a jerk in a way of like going behind people and the country. We only invest, frankly, I could be friends of any of the founders and they're all different people that I back, but they're all very, very different people, but they're 100% people with values that are honest, transparent, but you need to be aggressive, and to be aggressive, sometimes you need to break some rules, definitely. And if you're not willing to do that, it's really difficult to create disrupting companies.
If you work in the spaces that you and I occupy, then I think it's a good reframing to realize that we are in the business of persuasion. We are trying to persuade somebody to do something differently, better, new, etc. And if we all reframe and understand that we're in the business of persuasion, it reframes how we think about products, solutions, keynotes, blog posts, and everything else. And so my encouragement is to apply that lens to how we think, how we do, how we behave, and see if we can invest on an ongoing basis to become better at persuasion. It's an art, it's not a science, but I am a student of persuasion because at the end of the day, I'm in the business of changing people's minds. It is the hardest thing to do.
You'll probably, there will be moments of when you're building your own project and you're trying to lead a team, or you're facing the ups and downs of the markets, where you will definitely doubt yourself in a very profound way. There will be very tough moments where you'll face a lot of uncertainty, more than you can imagine, that you will feel lonely. You will probably have a girlfriend or not that will try to understand you and will not be able to have the kind of empathy for the kind of anxiety that uncertainty brings to the table. And in those moments, you really feel the imposter syndrome. You really feel no one gets you. You might not have any clue about how you're gonna make it through the winter, or how you're gonna be able to afford bills, or you feel super stressed that money is not coming your way. Those moments are very, very critical, very special. And obviously, having conviction, having passion will allow you to have the kind of endurance to go through those storms. But be sure that, be certain that this too shall pass, whether it goes the way you expect it to go or whether it doesn't. Which probably it won't go the way you expect it to go. It will go in a different way that might even be more surprising than your own expectations. Be aware of that, and know that this nothing lasts forever. And in those moments is when you might have your click, your special idea, your pivot. Those are very special moments in the career of an entrepreneur. It can bring you down to tears, and it can bring you down in very powerful ways. I went through some of those myself, but you always, if you have the kind of stamina to resist that, and to be open-minded about things. Don't be close-minded, but if you're open-minded about things, you might find interesting paths that are actually more surprising than your own expectations. So be open-minded. Don't let your expectations shatter your worldview, and have some faith and allow life to surprise you in meaningful ways, and be certain that nothing lasts forever, and this too shall pass, and you will go through it. At least you will make a memorable story for your grandchildren as you go through the challenges of building something from scratch.
Some entrepreneurs think that they've discovered gold and that their idea is the absolute best idea, and it doesn't happen too often, but it happens more often than you'd think. And they don't want to share anything. They don't want to talk about it because of anyone. They don't trust anyone because you're going to steal my idea. And the reality is that I'm not going to steal your idea, so you can tell me anything. Your client is most likely not going to steal your idea unless it's really very obvious, or they're already working on it. But normally, your client, especially if it's a massive corporation, is not going to be able to be as agile as you in setting this up. No, so I would say looking for trusted partners that you can speak with, no, and being able to speak about your idea and how you're going about it, and your idea, or your company, or your processes, or all of that. No, but opening up is something that I feel that sometimes entrepreneurs don't realize, and that they also don't realize that most entrepreneurs, yourself, you've mentioned it before, but entrepreneurs are very, very willing to help and be able to provide some guidance to the next generation. I mean, I'm sure that entrepreneurs go to you all the time. I'm starting a company on XYZ, and I've heard you on a podcast about, and I'd love to be able to ask you questions. Sharing your wisdom, no? And they shouldn't be shy on, getting wisdom from others. I mean, they shouldn't be doing that all day. They should be focusing on the company, but they should also be embracing what is out there, no? And trying to network it and everything. The other thing is also focus. So it's not about only networking and going to events. There's that part, but there's also the part of you also got to focus on your company, So there's a bit of both. There's a part that you got to have like portions of. You have to have partitions of your life. I'm knee deep into my company, my day to day, and I'm obsessed with this. But there's a part of my life in which I'm out there and I speak at events and I go to events and I engage with people and I ask questions and they ask me, and that part. So my recommendation would be,
I guess what comes to mind on both fronts is in the world of startups, there's a lot of unpredictability. Things, particularly in the short term. I think, long term, if you stick with something, hopefully you can get there. But short term, there's a lot of unpredictability. So one thing I always tell entrepreneurs is make sure that you're working on something that you really care about, that you want to spend time on, that ask yourself the following question. If this project fails after 2 or 3 years, but in the meantime, I met a bunch of great people, learned a lot, put myself in a better place for the next project, would you still do it? And the answer should be yes. The answer should be, I'm doing this, I'm giving it my best, I'm learning, I'm meeting with people. If you're looking at it going like, okay, this needs to succeed short term, that's a very risky thing. I would try to avoid that. I would try to say, well, can I find something where that's not the case? Can I find something where I feel strongly enough about it, about learning, about working with people, that even if it doesn't succeed in the next few years, it will be something that's going to move me forward. So that would be my suggestion.
The biggest misconception about venture capital?
Probably the one that I say, that we always create value. I think for the founders, not always. We try to create value for the biz, but sometimes some funds are not doing even that.
One book every founder should read.
Many of them, I think, Think About Hard Things is one of the most important. 0 to 1. I don't want to be obvious, but that's true. Will be very important.
Morning person or night owl?
When I was young, was old, but right now I'm a morning person. I wake up early to prepare my kids to the school and everything, and I enjoy this part of the day. A few years ago, I didn't enjoy it. I appeared to the office at 10, 11, and I went to my house at 11 also every day for most of my founder part.
With 10 million today, would you invest in a startup or start in one yourself?
It's a good question. Right now, I probably invest in startups. Yeah.
It's nothing inside of you that's still there, living and saying, I want to do it. I want to do it again.
Yeah, I will do something else in a moment, but I'm not sure which will be the opportunity that I will jump again. But yeah.
If you could go back in time and give your younger investor self one sentence of advice, what would that be?
Interesting. Probably I would tell myself to start investing earlier than I did, because as you were mentioning in my own trajectory, right, Fawn, I've been focused on entrepreneurship and operations my entire career, but truly as an investor in this past 4 years with Alexia Ventures. There's any add, I mean, also, I have come to trust my instincts much more the older I get. And I think that that's very important as long as you test them, right? And so this balance between your instinct, I feel like investors really need to use it to their best extent when aligned to data and to this founder mentality of testing things and executing, right? So that's something that I've learned from my trajectory. And maybe I would add to my younger self, but that's something I feel like I've done well, which is understand the power of networks. I think Endeavor has taught us all so much about the compounding effect that this generates in someone's life. So I feel like if there's something that I will give kudos to my younger self, is how much I have genuinely focused on my relationships, my network.
Excellent. Favorite Amazon leadership principle?
I mean, there's so many, but look, it's obsessing over the customers, period. I mean, you just fall in love with understanding people.
What is more powerful, data or story?
Narratives built from data.
Best advice you ever got as an entrepreneur?
Oh, I mean, there's so many. Oh, the one I think that people really understand is, again, focusing on that North Star. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Your solution may be wrong. The North Star is the problem.
The book beside any of your books that every founder should read?
I mean, there's several. Made to Stick, Chip and Dan Heath's Made to Stick, Good to Great. Let's start with those. I mean, those are probably two very solid ones.
Most underrated Amazon strategy?
This is a funny one because we talked about it, but yet so few people want to do it because it feels like it's work, but the payoff is so large, is writing those narratives before every meeting. First of all, in every meeting you go to, there's extroverts and introverts. The introverts don't get a chance to talk because the extroverts are taking up all the room. But if you give everybody a chance to write and then have that information shared, everybody's on a level playing field and you're going to get better meetings, better outcomes.